What's up, my little firecrackers? Blazing with this, blazing his way into another video. Now, this is What If Deku Was Shazam Part 2. Yeah, Part 2. Anyway, so where we left off last time, Izuku had just accepted All Might's proposal of letting him obtain One for All. So, let's just get into it. He said, okay, exact words, hold on, give me a minute. Man, I really should have thought this out more. But he said, I may be quirkless, but I'm far from powerless. And All Might was curious as to what he meant, and then Izuku started walking off, motioning All Might to follow him. Or, remember, All Might is in his weakened state at the moment. So, he follows him. Izuku goes up to the door of an abandoned building, and 7 symbols appear 7 different times on the door, and it starts glowing. And Izuku opens the door, and there's just this immaculate mansion. And because prior to this, Izuku learned that his abilities are magic. He was taught by the wizard that they are magic. They aren't just supernatural. They aren't just superpowers, it's actual magic. And that when he's in this area, he can manipulate it in any way he wishes. So, like, we're talking marble walls and then golden lining along those walls. Like, it's a beautiful place. There's a nice view of the ocean, but as soon as you open the window, there's nothing there because it's like a pocket dimension. So, there's actually nothing there but void. But once you close the window again, it's like a nice, beautiful ocean. You just can't go in and jump into the ocean because it's not there. Anyway, so you get what the point. It's like a mansion that's built into the side of a cliff. You know what I mean? And Izuku, and he's All Might's just like, what is going on? Completely and utterly confused, and he has that right to be confused, because this is some weird ass, okay, that he's never even heard of before. What ends up happening, I need to stop saying that, it's a fucking habit. So Izuku takes him to a training room. In one corner, there's a bunch of weights. I mean, like, heavy weights, like several tons of weights. They're really dense materials. Because it's magic, he could do whatever the fuck he wants. Even though it doesn't actually exist in real life, it can exist here. And then in another corner, there is just this giant ass... I said ask, but I was censoring myself. I'm gonna stay with that. It's a really giant obstacle course, and without like superpowers, like super strength, and stuff like that, flight, you're not gonna clear this obstacle course. It's just not possible. It's really intricate in a way that I cannot explain to you. So feel free to imagine. And then the entire other half is just this squared off area. And in this squared off area, there are these 4 devices, one in each corner of the square. And they're just lying on the ground. And when Izuku goes into that area, he says, Shazam. Lightning comes down, he transforms into this. This is what he's going to look like when he is Shazam. He's still going to have the red suit, the white cape, and the lightning bolt on his chest. But this is basically how he's going to look, okay? So, what happens is All Might's obviously confused, because he's like, why would he say he doesn't have a quirk if he doesn't? And Izuku understands the look of what the look of confusion on All Might's face means. He says, this isn't a quirk. It's magic. Like, this entire place is a pocket dimension created by wizards thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years in the past. This place is meant for the training of wizards and so on and so forth. This is also meant as a prison for many different beings, such as the 7 deadly sins. Any magical beings that are out there, once they're imprisoned, they're brought here. And that is if they deserve to be imprisoned. I'm not going to just... Anyway, you know what, All Might, just... It's a prison for, like, demons and such, you know, bad magical beings. Anyway, so this place is basically, it's mine now, because the previous owner was murdered by the 7 deadly sins, which have escaped into our world. So, yeah. And there's also this other guy who wants me dead, who has the exact same powers as I do. So, there's that. But, you know, this is magic, not a quirk in any way. So, the reason I asked you if I could be a quirk, if I could be a hero without a quirk, fucking... You know what? Like, stop giving me that face, All Might. I don't need that, okay? The reason I asked you is because I wanted to see if you were different than everyone else. And unlike everyone else who just belittled me just because I was quirkless, you gave me an actual reason I couldn't be a hero. Unlike them, who just called me stupid, weak, and, you know, worthless. You actually said I could be something of value, even though I didn't have a quirk. You didn't call me worthless. You didn't call me stupid. You said I was arrogant, which I might be, but you weren't rude about it. So, you are different. But the reason I asked for your quirk, even though, well, magic, and I control all of this, is because I need to show you how much power I have. So that you understand how much power that the person who's trying to kill me has. Only difference between me and them isn't our powers in any way, is that they've had several thousand years to train that power. They've had a lot of time to become powerful, to learn and master their power. I don't have that time. I need more power so that when they inevitably come to kill me and take over the world that we call home, I'm going to need more power than they have skill, so that I can protect everyone on the world we live. And All Might is just in a stunned silence at this point. He doesn't know what to say. It's a lot of information for him to take in. Magic existing? 7 deadly sins are now running rampant in their world, doing who knows what. As well as a being that he says can take over the world, is extremely confident that he could take over the world. Only thing left that he needs to know is just how much power he has, so that he can tell how much power this enemy is going to have. All Might still wants to give him his quirk. In fact, he wants to do it give him One for All even more now. Because he's already willing to risk his life to save the world. He can see it in his eyes that even if he doesn't give him One for All, he would still fight that man that's coming to kill him and take over the world to the death. Even if it killed him. And he could just see that, because it's the same look he had when he wanted to go fight All for One. He understands that emotion, that willing to fight, even if it's going to kill him. So he says, "What are your abilities then?" And he says, "Let me show you." And he starts demonstrating his abilities. Now, I might not keep it canon to all of Shazam's abilities. I might flex them a little bit, stretch them out a bit, alter them in some ways, but that's just for the story. Makes it more fun for me that way, and I hope it makes it more entertaining for you. So, he shows All Might that he can just generate this whitish blue lightning around his fist and from his hands, and all the way up to his elbows, just about. And, obviously the flying, super strength, super durability. Like, he smashes the ground, which is extremely durable. Like, I'm talking this is a training ground made for Shazam, who is often compared to Superman in the way of their saying that they both have godlike abilities. So it's extremely durable. And it actually cracks. Not breaks, but it cracks under the pressure. And All Might can feel the pressure waves just coming out from the enclosed area that Izuku is in, which is he's enclosed in a force field generated by the 4 machines on the floor earlier. And All Might can just feel the amount of power he's throwing off, and he knows what this power is like, because it's similar to, in terms of scaling, All Might in his prime. And this kid is already at the strength of All Might in his prime when he transforms. So that's pretty fucking powerful, and he can probably get even, and All Might believes that he could get even stronger if he were to actually train. And he could see he's already been training to control that power, because he can see that he's holding back his power, or every time. That's how that's why he's roughly estimating him to be at the same power level as he was in his prime, because he can sense he's holding back, and so it's just a rough estimate in comparison. What ends up happening... Shit, I did it again. So All Might understands and is like, okay, we can work with this. Says, meet me tomorrow at Dagobah Beach. And also, we should leave. I have a life to get back to. And he's just like, right, of course. And they leave. All Might goes back to his house. Izuku goes back to his. So, life goes on. Kyoka actually goes with Izuku into the area, into the mansion area that services his quote-unquote base or lair, and works out there because she too wants to be a hero. So do Ochako and Sue, and Nejire is already currently a second year in UA, so she's already on her way. But yeah, what ends up happening? I did it again. So Izuku goes. Next day, Izuku goes to the beach and meets up with All Might. And he says, without using your transformed state, the magic and all that, you're going to clean this beach. So that even if you're not in your transformed state, you can still use the power of my quirk. That way you don't suffer the same weakness as many other transformation type quirks. Okay, so and it'll probably be easier to hold back this power than yours. I don't know. It might be easier to hold back your other power. I don't know. I've never dealt with it before. But One For All is pretty easy for me to hold back on. I do it all the time. But you know what? All Might just do this, and then we could figure that out after. Young Midoriya, but let's get to it. And training commences. Montage over 6 months later, the beach is cleaned. The entire beach, completely cleaned. So, we have 4 months to the UA entrance exams, and some has been going down in the real world. It is now Christmas season, or winter season for those of you who don't celebrate that holiday. It's winter break, all that. So, let's get straight into this. So, All Might gives him One For All. Well, and then for the next 4 months, they're going to start working together. They're going to start training on it. But what they've actually done over the past 6 months is been working on getting him a provisional hero's license. Because influence of the number one hero, plus the number one hero saying that there's this guy that's as strong as I am, and he wants to become a hero, but he's too old to go to high school. So they're like, okay, we'll have him do the exam, the provisional license exam, and if he passes, he passes. He'll be doing it by himself, but if he passes, he passes. And we'll give him his provisional hero's license, and he could work with you or whatever other hero he wants, but he has to work with another hero in order for the license to be valid. So, what they've actually done after 3 months, he's taken the test, he's passed, he's gotten a provisional hero's license, but that's only with this body. That's only with Shazam, not Izuku Midoriya. You know what I'm saying? So Shazam has his own, heroic persona. And then you have Izuku Midoriya, who they're separating the two, okay? It's keeping a different identity, okay? Shazam is Shazam, Izuku Midoriya is Izuku Midoriya. So how it works is he's basically just trying to get people to think that they are two different people. He doesn't want people to know that he is Shazam, because he doesn't want to have to explain magic and all of that. So that's what they're going with. And they also explain his powers as a quirk. So what they call the quirk is Shazam, because it was just the simplest thing, and it was an acronym anyway. So they went with that, and they explained its abilities just like the wizard explained them. You know, strength of Hercules, blah 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 blah, all of that. They explained it. So, Shazam has actually been helping All Might with hero work, lessening his load so that All Might can be doing hero work for longer, and it appears to other villains like he's working more, and so it less, because I think villains were noticing that All Might was doing less and less hero work, and we're like, okay, he's done 3 hours, so we can just do whatever we want for the rest of the day, because All Might's not going to fuck with us now. He's done his 3 hours. But now they're seeing he's starting to work more, and it's like, okay, well, now we can't predict it, so we got to be more careful. And there's this other guy who's also like shown to be like almost equivalent to All Might, you know, just coming out of nowhere. So we have to lay low for a bit. So a lot of villains have gone back underground while they're trying to suss out the situation. And so another 3 months pass, and Izuku finally gets One for All. He's also, you know, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. But Nijiri is 100% curious as to what the is going on with this new hero. Like, no schooling, nothing. It just came out of nowhere. It's like, so she's curious about who he is, how his powers work, the whole shebang. He never explains his quirk because they called his quirk, you know, Shazam never explains his quirk because they called his quirk Shazam, and he doesn't want to say Shazam in front of, you know, a large crowd. But people are starting, like, he's, like, it's been 6 months now, or rather 3 months, but the heroes, like that whole hero thing, like the ranking system, that thing happened again, and he's already in the top 50, which is a really impressive feat for only having been working for 3 months. But when you are like, when you're like working with All Might all the time for those 3 months, and you're doing just as good as All Might is, you're bound to climb those ranks like you're on a fucking rocket ship. So, he's now about 35th in the rankings. If we were to put him in terms of power, he would have already surpassed Endeavor. But it's not how this is. In fact, where All Might is now, being weakened, he'd probably surpass All Might. But, you know, he doesn't want people to... How do I put this? He doesn't want people to be afraid of him, because if all of a sudden someone just came out of nowhere and like, oh, I'm stronger than All Might, then they'd be kind of more scared of him. then they would be, like, oh, he's gonna protect us. That's not the first thought someone would think when they see someone stronger than their hero. They're like, oh shit, we're gonna die. So he holds back a lot when he's fighting, and has slowly been using more and more power to make it look like he's been steadily getting stronger. Which is why he's only in 35th place. So, moving on. There's been some shit going down. There are, spottings of these weird, grotesque monsters that look somewhat made of stone, but also made of flesh. And they have these weird spikes. One of them has 4 arms. One of them has a giant fucking stomach mouth, or whatever it was disgusting. And no one knows what's going on, but they know they've been spotted, and people have gone missing. Most specifically, the head of a company went missing. Like, an entire group of people went to a meeting for this company, and then they disappeared. Like that. No one knows what happened. There was screaming, and then it was gone. And then everyone was gone. So, now All Might and Shazam are put onto this case. And, he's going... So, that's what they're doing right now. He goes back home and talks to Kyoka about what's going on. And she says, you need to slow down. You're going way too fast, and eventually this is going to start doing more harm than good. You're not going to be getting stronger, you're going to be getting weaker because you're taking your training way too far. I saw you cleaning the beach the other day, and you were pushing yourself way too hard. Eventually, this is going to deteriorate your strength rather than increase it. That whole argument. And Izuku just says, I need to be stronger. I need to be strong enough to face these threats. It's my job. And she says, it's the hero's job too. Izuku says, they're not strong enough to do it. I need to. Oh, and, she just storms off mad because, he's not listening to her. And skimming over a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. A guy appears in front of the door with one blue eye. Izuku goes and in his Shazam, because it's not the door to the house, it's the door to All Might's agency. Izuku is like, okay, why is he waiting at the door? So he goes out and then gets soccer punched through the fucking building and out the other side. So Izuku climbs up from the rubble, shakes it out of his hair, some of the dust out of his hair. So you're the guy. And a bunch of demons start coming out of him. Maybe revealing myself to the public wasn't a good idea. And then the demon guy's like, I wouldn't say that. Made it easier to find you. Anyway, the Blazing What Ifs, blazing away.